There was a time in my life where I was on fire and on fire with purpose for sharing the good news that we can let go of struggling. That was the thing in my life. I had a revelation, and I'll tell you about it. You want to hear about it? Yes. All right. So for 25 years, every Memorial Day weekend, I would go from California to Row, Massachusetts in the Berkshires to co-facilitate a workshop with my friends Joyce and Barry Vassell. And that would be the beginning of a 4 to 6 week tour up and down the East Coast. And at this point, I had 3 books. I had all my CDs. This was when CDs were still a thing. And so I had 2 very large suitcases and then a carry-on and my backpack. And the suitcases were very heavy. I always looked forward to them getting lighter, especially after this weekend workshop. But this weekend workshop, for whatever reason, I think CD sales had started to go down. I still had 2 very heavy bags on Monday morning. And as I packed and put them all together and zipped them up and picked them up, my back said the following: No, no, you can't do this anymore. You're not a young man. I will not let you do this. And I listened. I listened to my body. I said to the universe, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I refuse to struggle to get my stuff to my next gig. I refuse. And and then I said, I am worthy and deserving of having it easy. Show me the way. And because my back was, it had my back, that no was a yes in disguise. And as I said, yes, I am willing for this to be the path of ease. This is a turnaround moment. I am not picking these bags up and taking them on a train. I don't know how I'm going to get to New York City easily without having to lug these bags, but I know that I deserve it, and I know that I'm ready for that. And I walked into the workshop, and people were mulling about, talking to each other, getting ready to say goodbye. It was going to be our last little segment. And somebody came over to me and said, So, Scott, where are you going next? And I said, New York City. And he said, Oh, that's interesting. That's where we live. And I said, Oh, yeah, are you going back in a car? And he said, Yeah, you want a lift? And I said, Great. He said, Great. So I said, Where? He said, Where are you going? And I named the street. And he said, We live on that street. And I named the apartment building. And he said, That's our apartment. Here, let me take your bags and put them in the trunk. And he actually took the bags to the apartment, and it wasn't like I was in a lot of pain, but I did express that I could use some support. And boy, this was a life changer. It was a game changer for me. It was like I knew in my heart of hearts I could not go back to struggling. It was done. And I went back home and I started to write. You might say it was written through me, the following Dr. Seuss like rhyme. Get in your pajamas. Let's gather and snuggle. And I'll tell you a story, the story of struggle. It begins at a time before struggle began, in a garden called Easy, where all things were grand. The people who tended the garden had fun. They prospered and played and got lots of things done. One day, 2 plain folks, call them Adam and Eve, went under the covers with shame and some leaves. And then came the blame game, the who cut the cheese. Was it Eve or a snake or the wrong choice of trees? The day-to-day play, all the joy they were given, gave way to a sense we must work for a living. And God did reply, "Kids, you gotta be kidding. Everything you could want is right here, not forbidden." But they would not. They could not receive the good news. They thought that to play, they must first pay their dues. By the sweat of thy brow, we must now earn our bread. And they didn't know the gluten had gone to their heads. And they passed this confusion right on to their kids, hiding their loins with more leaves from more figs, teaching their offspring original sin, who then passed it off to their nextest of kin. And they made their cause noble, they justified pain. To suffer's God's will, no pain means no gain. And when you have suffered through life unabated, when you croak, your rewards card will be activated. That's when you cash in all your sacrifices and rest up in heaven with the rest of the righteous. And so, human beings, we assumed the position of forgetting God's love didn't come with conditions. We dreamed up a God with a list of demands, with rules and with judgments and a whip in his hands. And over the seas came the pure Puritans to spread the work ethic all over the land. The pleasures of life must not ever be trusted. If you dare enjoy sex, you're eternally busted. God sits on a cloud with his one only son, and they both wear a frown if you're having much fun. But if you can grab a bull by its horns, well, then God is pleased and might send less shit storms. And then on your tombstone, your tribute might say, "She worked hard for the money and toiled each day. He played by the rules, never did make a scene. And here lies his body, along with his dreams." Now, most folks are not dead yet, just taking a snooze, asleep at the wheel driven by their to dos. The average adult has a list that won't stop. And to be who you are is just not near the top. But when your to be's become priorities, you could fly through to dos with the greatest of ease. But when your to dos make to be's disappear, you get caught in to do dos right up to your ears. So, what in the world is this thing struggling? Allow me to define it, this world famous thing. It's trying and trying and trying so hard with your own ego strength, which is no match for God's. You're doing your best, and it's very courageous. But "I'll do it myself" is not self advantageous. Yet when you join hands with the powers that be, your source takes the lead, and she leads you for free. So, struggle is simply a well worn belief, and beliefs can be bygones, replaced and released. See, what's a belief but a thought you've been thinking so long and so hard that it's doing some stinking? And when you can smell your own moldy beliefs, you break out of the mold and you get some relief. Ah, let's see where we are. I am so excited to share this with you. By now, are you thinking enough is enough? There's life beyond struggle you just want to trust? Then you're ready to drop that belief and return to what's under that ancient fig leaf. Because under your cover, there's nothing to hide. That slippery serpent's been speaking some jive. We don't work for a living, we're already alive. We're not human doings. We're beings born to fly. Mhm. So, so get out your cell phones and send out a text to your family and friends, all your loved nervous wrecks, and tell them their nerves no longer need be taxed. They can travel downstream and be much more relaxed. And if they say, hey, that just makes me afraid, 'cause lazy don't pay me, there's bills to be paid. Let them see easy does it's working for you, that life has your back and trust sees you through. And if they say, no way, Jose, that's just fine. Not everyone's hip to the trip, they're divine. But everyone gets there in their own sweet time. And you help them the most by staying aligned. I'm staying aligned, staying aligned. Staying aligned. And so when your isness becomes your main business, you feel just like Santa the eve before Christmas. There's so much to give and so much to receive. And it happens as easy as breath when you breathe. The breath breathes itself with no push and no shove. And so goes your life when you know that you're loved. And if you work hard and work up a sweat, it's only because you love getting wet. Because when you're inspired, you follow your bliss. Even when you perspire, it feels effortless. Like the work that you're doing is being done through you. And you're thrilled to be letting the universe do you. Please email this poem, although some will delete it, and post it on Facebook and on Twitter. Tweet it. Because millions are ready to hear this good news that struggle's a choice that you don't have to choose. And struggle-free living, oh, how we love it. We flow down the stream on the boat, easy does it. And easy does do it. We find out at last, we don't stop at the tolls, we just use easy path. We're taking it light in the slow lane or fast, because the joke spit on us and we finally can laugh. I have one final message and then I will go. You can't give up struggle completely, you know. There are rites of passages, powerful rites, when struggle's a part of you birthing new life. I tried reading this poem to a woman in labor. She said, a face, don't do me no favors. Struggles are sometimes endearingly human. They spice up our life like fresh garlic or cumin. So next time you struggle, please don't self-attack. Don't struggle with struggle. Let's cut you some slack. Because when you are kind to yourself in your struggles, the kindness itself brings relief on the double. And so, to wrap up now, because I'm feeling spent, let's sacrifice struggle this Easter for Lent. Or just do it now. Why procrastinate when the garden of ease is your natural state? It's been waiting with patience, and it's well worth the wait. The garden of ease is our natural state. It's everyone's birthright and everyone's fate. The garden of ease is our natural state. And so let's drop in right now. Maybe close your eyes. I see you applauding. Thank you for giving me some love for that. It's really one of my favorite things I've ever been inspired to produce. So let's close our eyes and just let the tone, the feeling tone of that poem remind you that you're not alone. that you're surrounded like a fish in water, surrounded by a sense of divine order, that life does have your back, and you can relax and let those bags go. If you can just sense that in consciousness, you have been carrying around some pretty heavy luggage, thinking that for whatever reason you need to, you have no other choice. In this moment, sense the luggage. It may be your beliefs, it may be guilt, it may be trying to take care of other people and assuming responsibility for their well being or their pain. Just what is in those bags that make life heavy for you? And if you could actually see yourself holding these heavy bags and just dropping them, letting them go, and noticing that you're safe, noticing that that sense of lightness, the relief that comes from having dropped your bags, it, it doesn't change anything about reality. You're still safe, adored, taken care of, and you still have energy to get things done. It's just going to be more fun because the rest and the best of your life has now begun. So that's where I'm going to leave you. I'm waiting for you to receive you and for you to begin to believe you when you're telling yourself that everything's safe, that you're in a state of grace, and you start to see a big smile break out on your face because the past was never the way you thought it was. And whatever it was, it's been replaced by love. So give yourself a beautiful big hug and go about your day giving yourself love. It's pretty light stuff. It's very light bags. You can carry them on, and they're not a drag. You're here to carry the love and the light. Put the rest down and live in delight. I could go on and on, and there's no end. So I'm going to call it quits now.